Okay, once again, good morning po sa inyong lahat. And as of 9:22 ay walang paggalaw. 10 students pa rin din ang nandito sa ating GMeet. Pero kailangan na po natin mag-start para marami po tayong matapos. I do hope na kayo ay nasa mabuting kalagayan ngayong umaga ng Biyernes. Ayan po. Gusto ko lang din banggitin that I have posted the deadline sa Google Classroom ng yung podcast project. So, ito po ay sa May 26, that's a Sunday. So, hanggang 11:59, walang in-specify doon na oras. So, hanggang 11:59 po yan. Tapos, hopefully, early next week po ay magkaroon ng feedback kayo doon sa inyong mga research. Kung kailangan pa na dagdagan ng research na ito or sapat na yung research na ito para masubstantiate ninyo yung inyong ginagawang 15-minute podcast project. Anyway, so allow me to share my screen. And I do hope na magko-participate po kayo ngayong umaga na ito. Kung hindi man i-unmute ang sarili to recite, ay gagamitin yung chat box para po mag-express ng kanilang opinions and thoughts. Okay. Okay, please confirm po if you're seeing my slides po. Di na po siya naka-full screen dahil nahihirapan ako mag-navigate. Okay, thank you very much. So before we start discussing globalization, that's our last topic for the academic year. We're going to look back doon sa pinakalas doon sa mga natalakay natin sa nakaraan. So tinalakay natin kasi noon yung Cold War, yung emergence of the worlds, yung first, second, and third, tapos yung China-Taiwan conflict. Pero dito po sa review ay China-Taiwan conflict na lamang po ang pag-uusapan natin. So can someone please tell me, tell the class, kung ano nga ba itong China-Taiwan conflict na ito. So pwede nyo gamitin po yung political cartoon na nakikita nyo ngayon to tell us kung ano ang usapin sa pagitan ng China and Taiwan. Sige nga. Ano yung natatandaan nyo from our discussion? Ang pag-discuss ko noon nakaraan ay gumamit ako ng iba't ibang quotes from different notable personalities. Ginamit ko yung mga sinabi nila para ma-illustrate yung development ng conflict na ito sa pagitan ng People's Republic of China at ng Taiwan. Yung tinatawag din ng iba na Republic of China. Anyone from the class who wants to... Yes, 11, nadagdagan ng isa. So who wants to recap, yung China-Taiwan conflict? Sige nga. Sinong gusto? Itanong kaya natin yan kay Miss Paglinawan. Miss Sandy. Ano ang natatandaan mo sa ating discussion about the China-Taiwan conflict? Miss Sandy, are you there? Dun sa iba na may naiisip, pwede pong gamitin yung chat box, para sumagot. Ano yung China-Taiwan conflict? Actually, instructive yung nasa presentation po natin. Instructive yung political cartoon na ito. Magigets mo na kung ano yung conflict sa pagitan ng China and Taiwan. Pero ito, definitely may ugat ito. Pwede nating makita noong early 20th century pa. Anyone? Potassium? Pwede sa chat box sumagot. Okay, may one China policy. Okay, and because of that one China policy na discriminate ang Taiwan, aside from being barred from actually becoming a member of the United Nations. And of course, if you are to survive no, in the international community, you need actually alliances. And one big potential na lugar to get allies ay maging member ka ng isang malaking body kagaya ng UN. Fortunately, we have this one China policy na nagiging dahilan para hindi makilala yung sovereignty ng Taiwan. In spite of that, no, Taiwan is thriving as a democracy. Maliit lang siya na bansa in the north of the Philippines, pero nag-thrive siya as a democracy. That is why informally, merong established na trading relations ang maraming bansa sa Taiwan kahit na nagsusubscribe sila sa One China policy. One good example of that ay hindi na tayo lalayo, Philippines. No, yung every now and then na sinasabi ng Taiwan na visa-free ang Taiwan, no? Pwedeng pumasok ng malaya ang mga Filipino. Actually, it's a kind of deal na dulot ng mabuting relasyon natin with Taiwan. Sabi ni Mr. Aliviado dito, no, China wants to reunite with Taiwan because China treats Taiwan as its runaway province, no, and gusto niya na yung Taiwan ay ma-reunify with the mainland. Pero ang problema dito ay magkaiba na ng gobyerno. May na-set up na ang Taiwan na sariling gobyerno. At kapag sila ay ma-reunify with the mainland, they have to give up ito kasi ang magiging pangunahin ay Beijing. Yung Beijing politics na yung magiging instrumental dun sa pagpapatakbo ng Taiwan. Hindi na sila yung pangunahin kasi nga iilalim na sila doon. That's why during the Umbrella Revolution, ng pre-pandemic times, no, the Taiwanese people were actually closely watching what's happening in Hong Kong because they believed na kung ano ang magiging fate or kapalaran ng Hong Kong ay maaring danasin din ng Taiwan na every now and then ay nakakaranas talaga ng discrimination, ng intimidation from the mainland. Okay, so once again, yung dalawang faction, yung the nationalist and the communist, no, na during the time of World War II, sinet aside muna nila yung kanilang differences because they were fighting a common enemy, the Japanese, no. And when the war ended, nag-resurface yung tension sa pagitan ng dalawa, and the communists were victorious, no, in the mainland, na naging dahilan para mag-flee sa Taiwan itong mga nationalists. And from then on, nag-chart sila ng sarili nilang destiny as a separate body. Na ngayon, yung China, as was mentioned by Mr. Aliviado, gustong ma-reunite, gusto na bumalik ng PR China yung Taiwan sa kanilang teritoryo. Okay, so moving forward po, allow me to read yung note, no, portion doon sa inyong LG. Historically speaking, the conflict and tensions between China and Taiwan started as a war between ideologies, yung communism at saka yung nationalist na ideology. This transcended when both parties started to establish governments, no, which neither are willing to provide a concrete consensus. Kaya na-aggravate palalo yung tension. Given the scale of the potential conflict and key political cards at play, our country will receive the full brunt of the resulting chaos because we have ties to both China and Taiwan. Kaya tayo ay, kumbaga, kapag nagkaroon ng kaguluhan nag-escalate yung tension sa pagitan nitong dalawang bansa na ito, ay ang Pilipinas bilang trading partner ng dalawang bansa na ito will also be affected. No? Yung China ay nagpo-provide sa atin every now and then ng financial aid at ng pondo sa mga ilang infrastructure projects natin. Ang Taiwan naman ay pinupuntahan ng mga Filipino to work. Marami sa mga Taiwanese, marami sa mga Filipinos in Taiwan actually work in the in factories. kasi very developed yung ano nila, manufacturing industry sa Taiwan. At yung Filipinos actually ay isa sa mga lahi na marami doon sa mga factories sa Taiwan. Ilan sa mga dati kong estudyante nung ako ay nagtuturo sa college ay nagtatrabaho sa mga factories sa Taiwan. Tapos, isa pa dito ay yung usapin ng West Philippine Sea. So I would like to ask you, Potassium, if you were the President of the Philippines, imagine ninyo, how will you manage the tensions in the West Philippine Sea? So habang iniisip ko yung sagot, ang dagdag ko na chika dyan, when I was your age, wala pang West Philippine Sea. Ang tawag sa bahaging yan ng mundo ay South China Sea talaga. Yan ang kanyang international name. Yan po yung tawag sa katubigan dyan. Pero recently, naging very, very instrumental yung pagre-rename niyan ng isang portion dyan to West Philippine Sea as a way to assert our sovereignty over a particular portion in the South China Sea na meron dapat tayong jurisdiction. That's very, very important ha. Napapangalanan mo ito according to your perspective. Na it's the sea west of the Philippines. That's very, very important kasi you get a certain power over a particular territory kapag ito ay nirename mo. That's why yung mention ko sa class, sana natandaan nyo pa, yung Eastern Philippines, yung almost kasing laki ng Luzon na submerged, yung Benham rice, pinangalanan siya na Philippine rice eh. Rice spelled as R-I-S-E na find out ng ilang mga UP scientists na may potential natural gas deposits if I am not mistaken. And once again, very crucial, very instrumental yung pag-rename niya into Philippine rice to signify ownership, very much like what we did doon sa West Philippine Sea. The West Philippine Sea, by the way, is not the entire South China Sea. The West Philippine Sea is that part of South China Sea na meron tayong kiniklaim na nakiniklaim natin na bahagi ng ating katubigan. So I would like to ask you, going back, ang dami ko ng dinagdag na information. If you were the President of the Philippines, how will you manage the tensions in the West Philippine Sea? Sige nga, let's see. Kung nadagdagan. Okay. Anyone? Okay, sabi dito ni Mr. Sevilla, you gather your people's words and make sure everyone is heard. This brings the Philippines a step closer to uniting as a country. Actually, Mr. Sevilla, itong usapin ng South China Sea, yung West Philippine Sea, nakakapag-unify sa mga tao. Ang mga tao, regardless of their political persuasion, they all believe that we should fight for our right talaga sa West Philippine Sea. It is an issue of great concern sa maraming Pilipino. Parang sa isang survey na binigyang daan ng isang news outlet, na napanood ko just recently, ayun, majority of the Filipinos ang nagsasabi na kailangan daw na magkaroon ng government na talagang matapang na stand against China over the West Philippine Sea. So, ayun, maganda yung sinabi mo. Alam niyo yung ginagawa ngayon, recent news, yung may civilian groups na pumunta doon sa West Philippine Sea. Naglagay sila ng symbolic na mga pampalutang, yung boys na tinatawag. Tapos, binabantayan nila ngayon yung West Philippine Sea. Tapos ang China, parang naalarma sila kasi ang dami convoy talaga ng mga sasakyang pandagat. At ito ay guys, unarmed. Civilians po kasi ito, mga ordinaryong tao po ito na naglakas loob na talagang pumunta doon para igiit talaga. I remember Rodrigo Duterte, in one of his promises during the campaign na mag-jet ski siya pupunta doon, di ba? Kung narinig nyo yun. Pero ang tumupad after his term ay mga tao. Hindi man naka-jet ski. Pero hindi naman yun ang mahalaga. Ang pinakamahalaga dito is that pumunta sila doon, sakay ng kung ano man, at sila ay nangako na babantayan nila yung bahaging ito ng Pilipinas. No, it's very very important. If you still remember yung quote natin when we discussed about China Taiwan, yung last topic natin noong nakaraang synchro natin, I used the words of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, no, the founder of the modern Republic of Turkey, no, in the early 20th century. And sabi niya, sovereignty is not given, it is taken. So ang pangamba kasi ng mga political analysts, if we don't do anything aggressive, and by aggressive, what I mean is, yun talaga meron tayong gagawing aksyon na makikita talaga na nakikita ng tao at nakikita ng China. Hindi lang yung parang usap-usap lang yung mga leaders, no? Mawawala yan sa atin. At napatunayan na po yan kasi meron ng certain areas, no, na nakikita ang ilang UP scientists na nasira na yung corals dahil nagsastart na pala yung China doon sa bahaging yon ng artificial island building. And eventually, sabi ng mga political scientists na nagbabantay sa sitwasyon dito, once na makapagtayo ng any infrastructure ang China dyan sa West Philippine Sea, mahihirapan ka nang i-reclaim yan. Parang it's as good as permanent na. At kapag ginawa yung aggressively ng China, mahihirapan na tayo talagang i-assert yun. Kasi magkakaroon sila ng permanent post doon sa disputed territory. Kaya ako, no, aside from what Mr. Sevilla has mentioned in his answer, I would also use yung arbitral ruling that we have won, no, na nagbibigay sa atin ng power to actually defend, no, yung West Philippine Sea at talagang i-assert na ito ay atin. Guys, we're talking about a body recognizing our right over the West Philippine Sea. And we are part of an international community na I think na kapag sumobra ang China yung sa ginagawa ng intimidation, bukod doon sa nangyayari na ngayon na may water cannon na ginagamit, kapag pa yan, mas naging aggressive pa sila sa ganyan. Of course, magkakaroon sila ng backlash sa international community because the international community believes in the rule of law. And the rule of law actually has sided, no, with us, with that arbitral ruling. At sana nagagamit yun natin. Kasi nung panahon ni Duterte, hindi talaga siya nagamit eh. And I do hope that the Marcos government, no, at present uses that, no, as a powerful tool talaga to assert our rights over our territorial waters. Okay, thank you very much for your inputs. Okay, allow me to share with you itong sagot ng dati kong estudyante, no? Sabi niya, if I were president, I would avoid war as much as possible. Diplomacy. Instead, I would prioritize fostering the cooperation of other countries, especially those na merong similar complaints, no, doon sa China, no? And discussing matters with them, such as resource management and other issues. This could be vital as by addressing our common interests, we could at least work on protecting and conserving them rather than fighting for them. I would also strengthen resource management or on our part to protect our own resources, such as fisheries, as a significant portion of our fish production rely on the West Philippine Sea. No? Additionally, I would maintain bilateral talks with China in spite of China not honoring yung mga napag-uusapan na nakabatay sa nangyayari ngayon sa West Philippine Sea. We still have to maintain yung bilateral talks na ito. Hindi pwede siyang maging mawala, sa totoo lang. Kasi ang mga bansa ngayon should always sit through the issues. Kailangan pag-usapan talaga yan. No, kahit na parang hindi sinusunod ng isa, ang pinakamahalaga dito ay lagi pa rin nag-uusap talaga. Kasi pwede mo magamit yan na na merit parang to tell na parang the international community later on that China, in spite of them talking with you, and parang nare-resolve naman sa table yung issues, pero kapag wala na sa hindi na magkakaharap yung mga leaders na nag-uusap, iba yung nangyayari, that could actually be a point against China. No, that could be taken against them, to be honest. No, so it is to avoid misunderstandings. And also, kapag naghaharap yung mga leaders sa mga bilateral talks, it is a way for us to assert actually our right. Isasampal mo talaga yung ano, no? Pero masyadong harsh yung salitang sampal. Ipapaano mo talaga, i-assert mo talaga yung arbitral ruling. Diyan mo magagawa yan sa bilateral talks or disputes and be able to negotiate with them using that arbitral ruling, no? And nakalagay dito if necessary, well, it's always necessary. It's a very important decision that's sided with na pwede natin talagang ma-capitalize. And finally, entering alliances would also be crucial. At this point in time, merong ongoing, if I'm not mistaken, na balikatan exercises with French forces and American forces. It's a way of capacity building for our military para though hindi man natin talaga magagawa ma-overpower ang China, pero at least alam ng China that we're doing something about it, and we have partners. We have France and we have the United States of America to back us up, no, kapag nag-escalate pa ang tension doon sa West Philippine Sea. And with that, no, we're gonna discuss na po lesson 18, which is globalization and the challenge of world peace. This is part of module number 2, which contains 4 lessons. I would like to say na please read your LGs from cover to cover because the discussion po dito is entirely for added value po, no. Merong mga hindi talaga ma-mention na LGs. So, basahin niyo po maigi kasi doon magmumula yung lalamanin ng inyong quiz. Pero itong didiscuss kasi natin, add-on, pwede itong makatulong when you expound on a certain idea na magkakaroon kayo sa pagsagot sa long test naman. So, hindi pa rin siya tapon, hindi pa rin siya sayang. Pwede nyo magamit yung enriched idea natin, na palawak natin sa LG para makasagot ng mahusay sa ating essay portion sa long test po natin. Okay. And we have 11 targets in total. Okay. Since we're talking about globalization, I would like to ask you, Potassium, ano ang definition nyo ng globalization? I know that this is not the first time that you've heard of the word or the term globalization. Just like sustainability, it is also a buzzword. May idea, parang it is ano kasi, pinag-uusapan talaga siya. What for you is globalization? How would you define globalization? Sige nga. Okay, we have 18 students in attendance. What for you is globalization? Ang definition niyo ng globalization. Let's ask. Okay, magtawag tayo. Okay, sabi dito ni Mr. Aliviado, it's like the world connecting together po. Lagyan natin ng inter sa simula ng connecting. Tapos gawin natin interconnection. Okay, tama. No, it's interconnectedness ng mundo sa kasalukuyan. Ano ang dahilan ng interconnectedness na ito? Bakit nagkaroon ng interconnectedness ang mundo ngayon? Ano ang niyan? Ano ang nagdulot? What caused this interconnection? From trade and people traveling? Well, I think yan ay epekto ng markets as well. I think yan ay epekto ng interconnection. Pero ang pwede nating sabihin ay, of course, ay technologies po. Advanced communication, transportation, and other technologies po ang nagdala sa mundo para mag-shrink ang time and space at ma-maximize yung potential ng globalization. So, kung pagsasama-samahin natin yung sinabi dito ni Mr. Aliviado, tapos yung dinagdag ni Mr. Dungka, ang globalization is a process of yung increased interconnection ng mundo sa kasalukuyang brought about by our use of advanced technologies. Plural po yun. Ibig sabihin, iba't ibang klase ng mga teknolohiya na naging dahilan para mag-shrink yung time and space. Okay, dagdag pa dito ni Mr. Sevilla, it's a worldly force that brings people, cultures, economies and other aspects of countries together by way of advanced technology. Ayun, na-define na natin yung globalization. Yan yung globalization, no? Okay, naging global siya pang buong mundo. Okay, ngayon, tignan natin ang iba't ibang aspect ng globalization na ito. Himay-himayin po natin. We have economic, political, cultural, and social. Sa economic, pwede nating tingnan yan doon sa prevalence po ngayon ng mga multinational corporations, mga transnational corporations, mga entities po ito composed of people of different backgrounds and operating in different parts of the world. Tapos of course, nandyan din yung global money markets po with the dollar as a very, very important currency sa mundo, sa kasalukuyan. No, tapos, pasok din dyan yung growing prominence ng China sa kasalukuyang world order. So lahat ng ito ay bahagi ng economic aspect po ng globalization. Idagdag din natin dyan yung free trade, yung malayang kalakalan, yung pagkakaroon ng mabilis na pagpasok ng mga produkto from other countries kasi kumbaga mababa yung taripa na on a negative, parang negatively, pwede siya maka-impact sa local industries kasi nagko-compete siya tapos mura siya. So, pwede niya talagang mapatay yung local industry. One good example of that would be the Marikina shoe industry. There was a time, pre-pandemic, that the Marikina shoe industry projects itself na magkakaroon siya ng comeback. No? Pero nahirapan siya kasi bumuha na rin eventually sa Pilipinas ng mga shoes from China na cheap. And of course, Philippines as a developing nation would, and Filipinos would consider price, no, as the primary basis to purchasing products. Mura, no? Kasi mas pangunahin sa kanila na mura ang produkto, no? Pagpapalit nila yung kaysa doon sa, let's say, mahal ng ilang beses, pero tatagal ng talagang matagal. Mas gusto ng mga Filipino yung mura, kahit na hindi talaga ito ma-assure na tatagal ng mas mas mura yung mga shoes from China. So definitely, naapektuhan niya yung revival ng Marikina shoe industry. Pero ngayon, ang Marikina shoe industry is somewhat, surviving naman. No? Pero ayun nga, malaking competitor niya yung mga shoes from China. Sa Africa na lang eh. Ang Africa as a continent actually relies heavily on foreign aid from China. Ang problema dito, one of the conditions that China wants these countries to pursue is to open their markets for Chinese products. And in the long run, papatayin nito yung local manufacturing industry in those countries dahil, ayun nga, no, mass-produce yun sa China, meron silang excess products from China, tapos babahan ng surplus products sa Africa. Ito ang tatangkilikin ng mga Africans and definitely may detrimental effect yan doon sa local markets. Political. It has something to do with global governance. We have the United Nations as a good example. No, yung consolidating all efforts to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 and actually trying to prevent another war na alam natin, no, na very devastating. So it's very, very important to highlight that global governance, no, at this point in time, especially that we're facing a climate crisis na sinasabi ng maraming tao, ito talaga yung totoong digmaan natin ngayon. Ang kalaban natin ay yung epekto ng matagal na panahon na pagbabaliwala natin sa kalikasan. Na nag-start, I would like to ask you, Potassium, kailan nag-start yung sinasabi nila na talagang magbabago yung environmental landscape natin? Anong event yung talagang nagpabago sa relationship natin with the environment? Na-mention ko yun sa class. It's a very, 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 very important period. No? Kasi nagbago talaga ang society. At the same time, may epekto siyang negative sa environment in the long run. This event started in Europe. As eventually, yung principles niya actually spread, no, sa ibang bansa. Ano ito? Anong event ito? It's the Industrial Revolution. It's the IR. Oo, kasi all of a sudden, naging very, very important yung yung numbers na naka-anchor doon sa economic growth na pwedeng makuha ng isang bansa kapag nagpatuloy siyang mag-industrialize. Ngayon, that is to the detriment of our environment. Kasi naging very, very primary sa mga tao during that time and up to this day, no, especially kung traditional yung orientation ng thinking mo pa rin na profit, 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 profit. So ngayon, meron na nag-offer ng alternative view na parang yes, there is profit, pero can we balance that out with the other two P's? No? Tatlo ng P, hindi na lang profit yung primary. There should be a balance dun sa tatlong P. People, planet, profit. Kumikita ka pa rin, pero meron kang pagpapahalaga doon sa condition ng workplace, people, you look after their needs, no, yung welfare nila. And of course, you balance that out with making sure na yung pag-source mo ng raw materials sa ating kalikasan ay in a way na hindi niya madidiminish yung capacity ng environment to bounce back para ma-assure ang future generation na meron din silang maasahan sa environment. That's sustainability, by the way. Okay, so tama yung sinabi ni Amira dito. That's Industrial Revolution. Okay. So, ayan, dito sa political, nandiyan yung global action on climate change na malaki yung epekto sa atin bilang tayo ay nakalista bilang isa sa mga pinaka-vulnerable na bansa sa mundo sa effects ng climate change. No? And ang mga bansa kagaya ng Pilipinas na developing, no, tayo po yung mahihirapan talagang mag-adapt because ang ginagamit pa natin ay mga technology na hindi friendly sa environment at yung mga nasa developed world naman, maapektuhan pa rin sila, hindi naman sila insulated. Hindi sila, kumbaga isolated. May epekto pa rin yan sa kanila, maapektuhan yung economic growth din nila. Pero they are poised to be more adaptive to the situation. No, kasi when it comes to technology, mas nagmumula sa kanila yung yung development ng green technologies. 'Di ba? Na-mention natin sa klase na sa usapin ng technology transfer, may expectation na yung mga developed nations would help actually the developing nations para yung mga developing nations na to ay magkaroon ng transition to a much cleaner type of energy at saka systems. Pero ang problema dito ay hindi naman talaga ito na isa sa katuparan. Okay, doon tayo sa cultural. Ayan. So the growth of global culture and the globalization of products. By the way, one term na ginagamit nila as a synonym to globalization is localization. No, anything global gets localized so that it adapts to the particular needs of a particular group of people. That's why, let's say, yung McDonald's, no, as a global brand ng fast food, if you survey yung iba't ibang menus ng McDo in different parts of the world, iba-iba nang ino-offer. At yan ay nakabatay kasi doon sa local taste. No, very much like Jollibee. No, Jollibee, nakapag-Jollibee, kami ng ate ko when we visited last Holy Week, yung Kota Kinabalu, yung capital ng state of Sabah in Malaysia. Doon, doon in-establish yung kauna-unahang Jollibee sa buong Malaysia. Ngayon, doon sa kanila, meron silang ino-offer na sa atin wala eh. Meron silang beverage doon na Milo. Favorite sa Malaysia yung Milo. Nagkalat yung Milo. Sa palengke, may mga bibili ka na parang palamig natin dito na Milo. No? Tapos, ayun nga, sa Jollibee may Milo na drink. Sa atin, wala namang Milo na drink. No? So, it's local adaptation, masasabi. Tapos, they have this sambalgeti. Di ba kilala yung Filipino spaghetti for being matamis? Very different from yung original na spaghetti na Italian. No? So, ayun, yung spaghetti mismo natin actually, ano yan, pwede mong sabihin na feature yan ng localization na parang inadapt natin yung spaghetti. We have, parang to a certain extent, we have colonized spaghetti. Ginawa natin siyang para sa atin. Nilagyan natin ng, ginawa nating matamis ito. Doon sa Malaysia kasi, meron tinatawag na sambalgeti. Sambalgeti, ito yung spicy na version. Spicy na version ng spaghetti. Definitely gumagamit ng sambal. At yung sambal ay ginagamit talaga ng mga Malaysians and Indonesians and Singaporeans na pampaanghang sa kanilang mga pagkain. I would like to ask you on the cultural, ano pa yung napapansin nyo na epektong kultural ng globalization? Sige nga. Pwede po kayong sumagot sa ating chat box. Bukod sa mga na-mention ko, culturally speaking, paano nagmamanifest ang globalization? Sige nga. Colonial mentality, pwede naman. Pwede naman din. No? Kasi parang yung attitude na yan has something to do with actually making a particular standard na parang ito yung, ito yung tinitignan mo bilang pamantayan, no? Pwede. No, pwede. Parang may kinalaman naman yan sa kumbaga attitudes ng mga tao. Totoo. No, kunyari, yung pagko-compare mo sa mga pelikula, na parang ang konsepto mo ng magandang pelikula ay Hollywood, kaya tinitignan mo yung Filipino movies as bakya o mababa. That could be a product actually of globalization as well. Kasi ang globalization naman, hindi lang naman siya sa mga tangible na bagay, sa mga objects, sa mga bagay sa paligid. No? Ito ay may kinalaman din sa certain taste, values, attitudes, language and of course, language. No? Sa language, yung pwede nating sabihin dyan, yung pagiging madami ng English words na ginagamit natin sa everyday Filipino. No? Kasi of course, ang wika ng mga bansa na nagdadala din sa atin ng mga pwersa ng globalisasyon ay mga bansa na nagsasalita sa wikang Ingles. No? Tapos, ayan, interestingly, walang nagbabanggit sa inyo nung K-pop. No? Yung K-pop, no? K-pop actually is soft power. Hard power kasi yung military, yung ganon, no? Ng isang bansa. Ang K-pop actually very instrumental to making Korean culture likable sa mundo. Kaya maraming mga banyaga ang gusto pupunta ng Korea. Kaya nagkakaroon ng boost no sa Korean tourism industry dahil sa mga K-dramas. Gusto nilang bisitahin yung nung ako ay last year nung pumunta ako ng Korea, themed visit yun eh. We went to places na merong ginawa yung BTS. Tapos may nabisita kami daw isang parang park, Daejeonggyeom Park, kung saan nag-shoot yung kilalang teleserye nila doon, K-drama na Janggyum. Yung set mismo ng Korean novela na yun. Tapos marami pang ibang lugar sa Korea na pinupuntahan just because of that. Hindi pupuntahan yun kung hindi dahil doon sa K-drama. So, ayun. No? Anime as well, yes. Movies, of course. No? Ayan. So, tama naman lahat ng mga sinabi po ninyo. Okay, and lastly, sa social, nandiyan yung growth of online social networks. Tapos, of course, yung mga transnational families. And of course, good example of that would be yung Filipino family na si tatay nasa ibang bansa, tapos si nanay ay nandito. So, fortunately, because of yung advanced communications technology, pwede natin makausap si tatay, magtakda lang tayo ng isang particular na oras kung magkaibang time zone, para pa rin na-foster pa rin yung family ties in spite of yung difference talaga sa distansya. Yun yung sinasabi ko na nag-shrink yung time and space. Mga 50 years ago, that was not possible, no? Pero ngayon, kumbaga parang malayo man, malapit din yung effect niya. Malayo definitely, nasa ibang bansa, pero napapalapit dahil nagagawa natin makapag-Viber, nakapaggawa natin makatawag talaga sa ating mga mahal sa buhay. No, dati snail mail, tapos ngayon, although nag-exist pa rin yan ngayon, pero of course, ino-off na natin na kasi instantaneous. No, mabilis na makakarating yung ating mga gusto, no, or mga gusto nating sabihin doon sa ating kamag-anak sa malayong lupalop ng daigdig basta merong internet connection, no? At yan ay nakaka-apekto doon sa social landscape natin sa kasalukuyan. Ayan. Tapos growth of online social networks, of course, dyan yung mga social media platforms gaya ng Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Alam niyo, nakakatuwa, mabanggit ko na lamang is that napansin ko sa mga alam niyo yung mga nakikita ngayon sa bawat mga lugar na mga nakatayong mga, kunyari, pupunta ka ng Cebu. May nakalagay na Cebu City, kanya Mactan. Naglalagay na, before wala namang ganyan, pero ngayon naglalagay sila ng ganyan kasi parang pang-Instagram. So parang ngayon may konsepto tayo ng mga lugar na pang-Instagram, Instagrammable kumbaga. So, ayun, it's a current feature of the tourism industry ngayon. And of course, it's a way of actually also of curating yung image ng isang particular na lugar, no? At makapaghikayat ng mga turista. Okay. So let's look at, thank you very much for your inputs, no? For the issues. No? Once again, please read your LG from cover to cover. Okay, because not all the details that will be discussed here ay galing sa LGs po ninyo. Okay, anong mga issues natin na pwedeng tingnan sa socio-cultural aspect? We have the massive migration that could affect yung experience natin of our national identities and cultural belonging. They say that when you actually visit a particular country na very different from the culture na pinanggalingan mo, mas mataas yung cultural shock kasi of course iba yung iba yung way of life doon kaysa doon sa mga bansa na pupuntahan mo na to a certain extent merong similarity to the culture na mayroon ka. Okay, tapos of course nandiyan yung managing difference, no, in a time na mobile ang mga tao kung saan-saan sila pumupunta, there's a strong tendency na pwedeng mag-clash yung kanilang mga beliefs. No, at ang isang matalinong leader ay kailangan na magaling na mag-manage ng diversity in the workplace. For example, if you are working in a multinational company, people come from different backgrounds, and that could affect yung kanilang mga pananaw sa mga bagay-bagay na pag-uusapan. And definitely hindi sila makakapag-move forward kapag lagi silang merong obstacle na nagmumula doon sa kanilang mga kultura. That's why it's very, very important for us, no, to be culturally intelligent. Na parang we get to understand na parang ito ay produkto ng kanilang cultural beliefs, and we need to always have this idea na mag-meet tayo ng halfway. It's managing difference. It's very important in globalization. And of course, nandiyan din yung global changes in culture, especially kapag masyadong intrusive yung isang cultural aspect coming from outside the country. Kasi it would definitely affect yung natin yung local culture po natin. Okay. So, isang halimbawa nung nakaraang Holy Week, though hindi naman to bago na, parang actually issue na siya kahit noong parang 10 years ago. Pero noong panahon kasi na yun, may globalization naman na talaga, no? Yung, ang tawag nito, merong isang grupo ng kabataan na ang paraan nila yung sa pabasa, if you're familiar with pabasa, yung passion, ni Hesukristo, merong certain ano yun eh, may certain na tono siya. Pero ginawa nilang para ito, no, na ikinagalit ng of course, ng mga taong simbahan. No? Parang sabi nila, it's a way daw to adapt that particular ritual to modern sensibilities. Sabi naman nila, dapat daw may certain things na parang hindi dapat malalangkapan or mabibigyan ng modern sensibility kasi nadidiminish daw yung parang nadidiminish yung niya, yung kumbaga significance niya kapag yung pabasa ay irarap mo, di ba? Isang halimbawa pa niyan yung yung merong translation of the Bible. Akala ko actually sa Philippines lang yun. Meron din pala sa English yun. Parang napanood ko sa Facebook na very colloquial yung gamit ng wika. So parang merong mga grupo na hindi pabor doon dahil kumbaga nadidiminish daw yung power ng wika, no? Kasi kumbaga kailangan daw na iba pa rin yung biblical treatment sa wika. Well, it's a product also of yung mga iba't ibang impluwensya na rin na nasasagap natin at ito ay produkto ng nagpapatuloy na globalization. Sa economic issues naman, nandiyan of course yung pressing na worldwide inequality. No? Actually, ang dami ng data na nagpapakita na nagkaroon ng pag-widen ang gap between the rich and the poor. That's why there are certain groups of people na tinatangka nilang i-reform ang capitalism. Diba, binanggit ko sa inyo sa klase na it's very important na i-rethink ang capitalism because if we're gonna think of an alternative to capitalism, we have no choice but to reform capitalism, no? So that it works for everybody. As I have mentioned kanina, yung PPP, hindi lang yung P. For the longest time kasi, ang primary is profit. Ngayon, when it comes to business, no, sa pagnenegosyo, meron ng ilang mga business establishments na ang orientation nila is yung PPP. 3Ps na tinatawag. Yes, there's profit, pero nakabalance yun sa planet and people. Ibig sabihin, may consciousness ka dapat na hindi ka lang dapat focus sa pagkita. Focus ka rin sa pagpaprovide sa mga tao ng good working condition. And conscious ka dapat sa pag-source mo ng mga raw materials mo. So, kapag ganyan yung maging pangunahing orientation in the future, yan yung environment friendly. At yan ay actually produkto ng criticisms against yung traditional orientation natin ng economic system na nagdo-dominate ngayon sa mundo. Nandiyan din syempre yung consistency and equality of educational experiences na kunyari sa konteksto ng Pilipinas, hindi naman tayo pantay-pantay ng educational experience. Kayo actually very, very lucky kayo kasi when you reach grade 12, no, actually 11 pa lang, ina-entertain nyo na yung napakaraming possibilities na magiging future ninyo sa college. Hindi na lamang UP, Ateneo, LaSalle, UST yung options ninyo. Though ako galing ako sa small school, yun lang yung mga options namin. No? There was a time in our educational history na hindi naman talaga marami yung international linkages. Pero ngayon, bonggang-bongga ang mga international linkages. Not only of schools like Pisay, para may ibang schools na rin na nag-establish na ng international linkages. So parang that's the norm sa dumadaming schools ngayon. Nandiyan din yung secondary education in developing countries remains quite weak. They are questioning. One good example of this would be yung pag-criticize nila doon sa K-12 na sinasabi na wala naman daw talagang siya, yung parang malaking impact, no, to us, no, lalo na sa ating ekonomiya. That's why they're thinking of if not removing yung K-12 ay talagang magkakaroon ng pagbabago to how K-12 is being implemented in our country. Pero ito kasing K-12 na ito, and even, dagdag ko na rin, no, Yung pag-shift natin, dati kasi ang pasok is June, yung pag-shift natin ng August, ano yan eh, international ang standard natin dyan eh, ASEAN integration. Tapos yung yung international standard na para may certain number of years na kailangan ka ma-complete dito. That's para pag nag-transition ka, gusto mag-aral abroad, dahil may similarity sa number of years, hindi ka na mahihirapang magkaroon ng transition. So, may standards sa usapin ng educational practice na determined sa international level at tayo, sumusunod tayo dito because we don't want to be left out, and at the same time, we consider these standards as very, very important in actually leveling up yung educational experience ng mga Filipinos. Unfortunately, hindi siya pantay-pantay. Hindi siya pantay-pantay na nare-reinforce. Tapos nandiyan, of course, yung new technologies of globalization. Okay, siguro papasok dito yung increasing use of AI. Yung sa mga dito, nanonood at saka nakikinig ng balita, yung ngayong issue about tinitignan nila yung sa PIDEA leaks, yung involvement ni President Marcos sa drugs na siya daw ay nakalista di umano doon sa listahan ng PIDEA. Tapos merong audio na ebidensya di umano. Pero sabi nila itong audio na to ay kumbaga AI, AI. Kasi ngayon 'di ba, kumbaga merong number of seconds lang na marinig ang boses mo, pwede siyang i-replicate. May ganong technology na ngayon eh. Tapos yung deepfakes pa. At lahat ng ito could actually affect yung social landscape natin. Promising at the same time scary, to be honest. Kasi kung gagamitin natin siya for good, as a force for good, maganda talaga. Pero kapag sa kabilang sa ibang bagay natin gagamitin, sa evil intent, doon nakakatakot. Kasi it could affect talaga yung relationships natin sa lipunan and the society in general. Political issues, nandiyan yung constraint on national and state policy, especially because we adhere to certain international standards and we are part of an international community. So, compromise and negotiation are very, very important, in maintaining yung natin, security natin. Nandiyan din ang economic coordination and exchange, pero how do we deal with, let's say, nations na when it comes to, let's say, determining exactly the conditions of a particular economic policy, paano natin magagawang i-assert yung ating sariling conditions if we are a developing country. Kasi if we actually come into agreement with a particular nation tapos ito ay develop, they have the funds, we need them actually for financial aid, for example, and for investment because they have the money. Of course, you don't get to decide kung ano yung mga conditions. Pero in spite of that, ano ang pwede pa rin nating magawa para hindi tayo nadedehado? Global conflict. Pero itong global conflict na ito, pangalanan natin na talaga, climate change. Kasi it could aggravate one way or another yung mga existing tensions sa mundo. One good example of this would be yung before, pag sinabi mong refugees, political ang nature ng kanilang pagiging refugee. Because of a civil war, umaalis sila dun sa kanilang bansa, nag-seek sila ng tulong sa ibang mga bansa para dun sila makapag-start ng panibagong buhay. Pero ngayon may tinatawag na environmental refugees. Umaalis sila sa mga particular nilang bansa because nagkaroon ng disaster and it will take some time for that particular place to recover given na mas naging vulnerable yung mundo to the effects of climate change. And definitely that would affect yung dynamics in a particular society na tumatanggap ng mga refugees. Kasi if they will stay permanently, eventually, kailangan mo silang i-mainstream. And definitely, kahit ang government mo is, let's say, very accepting of this, a situation, and they promise, let's say, the people na parang gagawa nila ng paraan. You cannot always tell na yung mga tao, yung mga citizens ay mag-agree doon. Kaya ngayon sa Europe, kahit yung mga Scandinavian countries, for example, known ang mga bansa na ito for being very peaceful countries. But every now and then, no, may natatalanan na na physical aggression, na physical violence. Tapos kapag ugatin mo ang dahilan kung bakit nangyari ito ay dahil sa usapin ng yung mga migrants na nakatira doon sa mga bansa na ito. Kasi mga welfare states yung mga yan eh. No? So ngayon, yung mga tinatanggap nila, yung mga tao, meron silang nabubuong fear on their part eh. Na parang eventually, if our country continues accepting yung mga ito, definitely, yung ina-enjoy namin na klase ng buhay ay pwedeng maapektuhan. No? Doon sila natatakot. Para sa kanilang sarili at para doon sa future nila na parang sila kasi ay tagaloob. At ito ay mga dayo lamang. Ayan. Of course, nandiyan ang krimen, no? So, may mga evil intent, no? Nagle-level up din sila, no? Nagle-level up din sila sa paggawa ng mga krimen, no? Dahil tayo ay nakalubog na rin sa ating kumbaga sa cyberspace. Ayun, madami ding mga kabulastugan ang nangyayari sa cyberspace. No, kasi nagle-level up din sila. Gumagamit din sila ng technology para ma-push yung kanilang mga intensyong hindi maganda. Kaya mahalaga pa rin talaga yung critical thinking. And of course, on the part naman of the government, magkaroon ng infrastructure to actually prevent these from actually affecting yung everyday na buhay natin. Kaya dapat laging laging advance pag-isip. No, dito maganda yung konsepto ng advance pag-isip yung ating government para maka-keep up sila doon sa mga possibilities na naki-keep up din yung mga may evil intent. Terrorism. No, terrorism is also one global problem. Pero ito, yung terrorism, I think it has something to do with yung problema ng traditional na konsepto ng kapitalismo na nag-create ng malaking divide between the rich and the poor. I remember this American essayist and political thinker na si Gore Vidal. Ang sabi niya, madalas natin na iniisip na kailangan lang natin mag-focus doon sa action ng mga terorista, no, na para sabihin natin na masama yung ginawa nila. Pero kailangan din daw natin isipin, ilagay sa equation na bakit ginagawa nila ang ginagawa nila. No? So parang pag ginawa natin, pag idinagdag natin yon sa ating thinking, mas magiging holistic yung pag-unawa natin na itong evil na sumambulat dahil sa ginawa nila is not something na napagtripan lang nilang gawin. Merong dahilan kung bakit nila ginagawa. At ang dahilan ay nag-emanate din sa lipunan po natin. It's actually yung nangyayari sa lipunan natin na let's say yung di umano magdami ng mga NPA, mga communist forces, na every now and then ay kinakwel ng government. Wala ka namang ibang dapat sisihin dyan kundi yung society din eh. Kasi naniniwala ba kayo na ito ay nagtitrip lang? Pinagtitripan lang nila, gusto ko lang maging ganito. No, they are driven by a certain type of ideology born out of widespread inequality. Basahin niyo po sa LGs natin kung ano yung types of terrorism. Tapos of course, environmental issues. Na very, very important na magkaroon ng political will ang mundo, of course, especially those na nasa developed world. Kasi, of course, naranasan na natin yung mga epekto talaga ng climate change. And things could definitely get worse pa. No, mas iinit pa. Sabi nga nila, hindi na global warming, kundi global boiling na daw yung nangyayari ngayon. For cultural globalization, ito yung mention ni Mr. Sevilla kanina, yung spread of culture, customs, or ideas of a place or a people to the rest of the world. Ang pros and cons ito, of course, standardization of time and space, ito yung mention ko kanina na you still get to talk with your parent, no, residing overseas. Magtatakda lang kayo. Nasishrink yung time and space. Malayo man, malapit din. Kasi magawang pa rin kausapin si tatay eh. Iba man yung time zone niya. Thanks to advanced communications technology. It could also be a catalyst for positive social change. May mga, let's say, if you're familiar with the fourth impact, no, yung grupo na kinall out ng mga netizens because nag-fundraising sila for their 200 dogs. Tapos eventually, tinake down nila ito. No? Makita mo yung person ng ng netizens nandiyan. At nakita nila na parang may mali doon sa pagre-raise ng fund para gumawa ng tahanan or shelter for their 200 dogs. So, it was a way to actually start something positive. No? Parang i-call to attention yung mga tao na gumagawa ng hindi katanggap-tanggap. Of course, economic growth is there as well. No, doon sa malayang kalakala na siyang feature ng capitalism, na siyang isa sa mga pwersa na nag-globalize, ito ay pwede magdulot ng economic growth. But at the same time, we should look into how this growth translates to benefit, no, for different people. Hindi pwedeng nakikinabang lang iilang grupo ng mga tao. It should trickle down to all sectors of society. And of course, it broadens human perspective by way of actually increasing your knowledge about other people's cultures. No? And with that, you realize that we all live in a very diverse world and respect is very, very important. Ang cons nito is that there could be erosion of local cultures, as I have mentioned kanina in Africa. No, aside from the local manufacturing being affected by the aggressive intrusion of local products in their markets, no, pwede ring magkaroon ng erosion of local cultures because meron ding dumadaloy na na banyagang kultura, the foreign culture inside. When you make these particular nation or nations prominent, no, sa affairs ninyo as a nation. Nandiyan din, of course, yung widening of inequalities na tinatry i-address ng ilang mga grupo sa kanilang maliit na paraan. Yung orientation na PPP na minensyon ko kanina as opposed to the central profit lang. Clash of civilizations as well, and ecological impact ng ating mga practices, most notably yung fast fashion. Examples naman ay yung McDonaldization. Pag sinabi McDonaldization, it has something to do with making all transactions like how the fast food industry, particularly McDo, does it. Ibig sabihin, allow me to share with you this one. You focus on efficiency, on calculability, predictability, and standardization and control. Therefore, bottom line ito, simply put, you focus on the numbers. You don't go beyond the numbers. Pero dapat mag-go beyond ka na numbers to see the humanity ng mga numero na ito. Hindi pwedeng ang lagi mo lang tinitignan na basehan ay numero kasi maraming kwento kang pwede makuha sa numero na ito. Isang halimbawa, na-reach ninyo yung target ninyo na percentage for a certain economic output. Pero yung mga tao mo, you don't realize na stress sila ng bonggang-bongga in achieving that number. Hindi ba mahalaga na maikwento at malaman na for this group of people to achieve this particular number, na-sacrifice ang kanilang mental health, ang kanilang family life, etc., etc. Kasi if that continues, meron siya epekto sa social fabric. So we should always go beyond the numbers. Unfortunately, itong ganitong sistema persists, no, in society today. That's why I'm very, very thankful and I'm very happy na pag nakakakita ko ng ilang mga companies na they do business differently, na iba yung kanilang orientation. No, kasi kumbaga sila yung sa tingin ko the future ng mundo. Kasi yung kanilang practice sa iba't ibang aspekto is sustainable. Pag sinabing sustainable, it actually addresses yung negative concerns at mas ina-highlight po yung yung positivity na pwedeng makuha from your practice. Okay, nandiyan din syempre yung spread of evangelical Protestantism amongst other faiths na nag-globalize ngayon. Which is not surprising because we entertain naman different kinds of ideas, no? Especially when we actually surf the internet, we get to have a dose of different perceptions, no, different ideas, principles, and those could affect our own perception of things. Of course, nandiyan yung food and dishes. Samgyup, for example, what makes it Filipino, yung mga side dishes niya. Dati walang samgyup, pero ngayon may samgyup because, of course, very powerful ang Korean soft power. Fashion as well, nandyan. You spread the political ideologies, ano man yung kanyang temperament. Tapos, of course, yung Davos culture na may kinalaman sa technocracy, yung paggamit ng technical expertise to solve our problems to the detriment of understanding yung human side of issues. Parang very much like McDonaldization at a certain level na you prioritize numbers, no, you prioritize kasi efficiency as evidenced by a particular number na tina-target, and you don't give importance that much to the stories behind those numbers. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, why have Western influences had a major impact all over the world? So, gusto ko itanong po sa inyo ito, Potassium. Bakit sa tingin nyo, yung Western world, yung pinaka-ma-impluensya pa rin sa kasalukuyan? Kahit nandyan na, of course, yung China. Pero in general, yung Western world, ma-impluensya siya sa mundo natin ngayon. Bakit kaya? Anyone? We have 22 students in attendance. Let's look for someone to answer this. I would like you to give your thoughts about these. Mr. Dizon, Jacob, are you there? Jacob? Jacob, hello. Are you in the house? Okay, please. So habang hinihintay namin yung itatype mo na sagot, I would like to ask si Miss Irlanda, si Anaya. Bakit sa tingin mo na ang may major impact sa mundo ngayon ay mga Western influences? Parang ito talaga yung nagsiset ng standards. Kahit na hindi dapat natin sinusunod ito, bakit ganun ang nangyayari? Yung Western yung mapagtaya.
Well, sir, just a guess po. Pero, especially a few decades ago, during the wars and stuff, they would make themselves out to be like the party that was in the right. Like, they would make it out so that they were ideologically correct. And then, for example, when they were at war with Russia, for example, they had this, they would spread that they're, in fact, better than Russia, like communists are bad, this and that. So, whenever they would win those wars, they would sort of set themselves up to be seen as better, to be seen as superior to the other nations, and that led to more connections to them and more influence over the world as a whole.
Okay, thank you very much. No, good point. No, kasi when the Cold War ended, na-disintegrate kasi USSR and the United States of America remain powerful. And of course, yung nangyari na yun, no, affected yung Russian status. Though ang Russia naman until today is a force to be reckoned with. Pero it's very different when you talk about the United States of America, even though you have China in the picture already. And when we talk about the Western world, sila din kasi guys yung yung mga bansa sa Western world, sila din yung mga former colonial masters. So up to this day, meron pa rin talaga silang sway over a particular group of people, marami ito, na formerly colonized ng mga bansa na ito. That's why yung standards nila ay, kumbaga, pwede mong sabihin na vestige yan of a particular period in history na meron silang mga colonies. Kasama na po dyan ang Pilipinas. Okay. So, wait lang. Oh my God, nag-extend na ako. So sabi dito rin, no, share ko lang din yung sagot ng dati kong estudyante. Many Western countries, not just the United States of America, have had a major permanent effect on the countries they have colonized in a way that affects their beliefs, media traditions, and even erasure of old culture. Kasi nga ayon, kumbaga na-embed sa atin na konsepto na parang yung Western ay yung the best. No, though parang hindi talaga completed pa yung decolonization process sa atin. May certain groups who advocated for that to indigenize, let's say, yung ating knowledge systems, pero hindi naman talaga siya na-gain ng yung yung kumbaga mas mainstream na na support, pero nandyan sila. Pero ang nangingibabaw pa rin talaga ay Western parameters when it comes to seeing things. No? At yun ay epekto ng din talaga ng colonial period natin. This lingering dependence of former colonizers makes it easier to be more influenced by the current innovations, news, and media. Totoo naman yan. Na parang naging na tayo, parang na-limit na tayo dahil doon. Na dapat ay hindi dapat tayo malimitahan. The moment na tayo naging independent, we should talk about what we should do we should do with our independence. Though, of course, it's not really easy for us to get out of the shadows ng ating former colonial master. Especially those na ngayon ay powerful pa rin, the United States of America. Spain kasi na siya hindi naman na siya ganun ka-influential. No? But we're talking about the US of A. Okay, to end our discussion, I will be sharing with you 2 quotes. Ako na lang po ang mag-aano nito. Pero meron yatang binanggit dito si sorry. Basahin ko na lang din. Ayan, may nagsagot dito. Yeah. Sabi dito ni Mr. Aliviado, like their ways and ideologies po seem pretty ideal and overall decent po. Pero pag titignan mo nga, you might have a different understanding kasi of what we should do as a nation when it comes to progress. No? And as I have mentioned dun sa isa sa mga klase natin, na shinare ko from the book that I am reading, there's no one path, no? Hindi lang isang path to modernity. As evidenced by what China is doing actually. Pero tayo nakulong na tayo sa idea na mag-modernize lang tayo kapag we adapt Western practices. Pero hindi naman daw ganon in some parts of the world. So therefore, affected lang talaga tayo ng colonial na mindset na naitanim sa atin. At until now, dala-dala natin yan. In our everyday lives at saka sa mga natin systems and practices. Dagdag dito ni Jacob, okay, Western influences have a major impact in the world because for starters, regions in continents or in some cases, entire continents were colonized by these Western colonizers. Ito yung mention natin kanina, which in turn caused their influence to seep into different regions. Totoo. Kasi, let's say, nag-establish sila ng mga institutions, and when the nations became independent, hindi naman totally tinanggal ang mga institutions na ito. These institutions actually remained. No? At of course, yung mga ideologies and values ascribed to these institutions might also contextualize the dealings of people in a post-colonial state. So yun ang mangyayari. Ang gagamitin mo rin kasi dyan ng mga infrastructures, colonialist set up ng mga colonizers Parang hindi ka naman nag-back to zero. Kasi meron ka na parang naka-set up na sistema na iniwan ng mga colonizers mo. Tama. That is why their influence and culture still. Another reason could be during the Cold War wherein the influence of the NATO and Western countries pursued a policy to spread their ideology and such to countries not yet affected by communism. Okay, so na-mention din yan ni Miss Irlanda kanina sa pagpapakalat ng ideology. So sabi dito ni Emmanuel Macron, ito yata yung president ng France before, globalization can be a great opportunity. This is true. This is very, very true. Kasi madaming pwedeng gawin with globalization, with what's happening today. Pero of course, mas maganda na meron kang social consciousness na i-harness mo yung kapangyarihan ng globalization, not only for yourself, but to actually be a force for good to people and to society. No? And the second quote would be, We are built to survive, so are our oceans, so is the atmosphere. But surviving is not the same as thriving, not the same as living well. Ito yung sinabi ni Naomi Klein. Kasi it's actually a critique of what's happening today na tayo ay nagsusurvive lang day by day. We don't really think about the long term. No, we're not talking about development, we're talking about economic growth, and those two things are not really the same. And we should focus more on how to adapt more more rapidly and more effectively sa changing climate. Kasi if we don't do that, talaga magsusurvive lang tayo. We should try to uh, thrive in spite of what's happening. And kasama sa ano na yon, sa rethinking na gagawin dyan is to actually change our orientation sa isip about how we deal with the environment. Parang yung ano, yung nangyaring heat index for example, na mataas, na most likely ay mangyayari in the coming years, napainit na napainit, global boiling na nga daw ang termino ng ilan, ay ang solusyon daw ay puno. Pero sino ang makaka-realize na leader na parang it's not about actually it's not actually about just suspending classes and making sure na parang wala sa school. It's about actually a radical change in the way things are being handled. No, it's about, let's say, planting trees now, more trees now, para magamit natin at maximize natin yung benefits na pwede natin makuha sa puno. So it's something to do with that. Surviving is different from thriving. In spite of globalization providing us with so many great opportunities, kailangan yung opportunities na to ay intelligently thought of. So, ayun po. My apologies po, naubos na yung pag-ano ninyo. Pero bukas pa naman yung submission ng situation worksheet. In-extend ko siya. Okay, so if you have questions po, I would like to get a thumbs up po if okay naman yung naging daloy ng ating discussion ngayon. I do hope marami naman kayo natutuhan about our last lesson. Okay, once again, please see your LGs from cover to cover because hindi po natin na-mention ang lahat na nasa LG. Ito pong idagdag natin ay pwedeng makatulong sa inyo. Hindi siya tapon, pwede pa rin makatulong sa inyo when you answer the essays, no, sa inyong long test. Pwede siyang add-on talaga na enrich yung nasa LG po natin. Kung may tanong, time check is 10:39, please address them sa ating group chat na lang po para at least, pag sumagot ako, nasasagot ko kahit hindi tanong na iba, para at least, na-aware din po sila. Kung meron po kayo itatanong. Do not forget, deadline po ng podcast project is May 26. At kung po meron pong other questions pa na hindi related to the topic discussed this morning, ito po ay gawin nyo na naman po sa ating group chat. And with that, maraming salamat po sa pagpunta sa ating Gmeet. Mag-stop recording na po ako. And goodbye po sa inyong lahat. Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank you, sir.